Hello, everybody. I didn't think I was going to make another video for a few more days, but the lightning struck, as it were. I was texting my buddy Matthew Street. Everybody knows Matt. Matt is a great guy, Beatles channel, power pop guy. One of those guys that I really want to meet one of these days in person. Uh, we were texting a little bit. He sent me kind of an early Thanksgiving greeting. Obviously, this is Monday, the week before Thanksgiving, so we're over a week and a half away from Thanksgiving here in the United States. But it got me thinking, why don't I do some sort of Thanksgiving thread? I haven't done a thread in a while. A lot of times my threads don't really catch on too much. I'm not Chris Profi, I guess. But I was kind of, toying with the idea, and Matt kind of was like, "Hey, why not, albums that are turkeys?" And I thought that's a really good idea. It saves me from thinking about what I want to do, and I can give credit to Matthew Street. So I don't have any set number of albums here. If you want to do this thread, you can show a couple albums. You can show 100. I don't really care. Um, Essentially the premise is just show albums by artists. Probably, I'm assuming they will be artists that you like, but maybe an album or two from their career that were kind of a dud. It was a turkey. It was kind of a big old goose egg, in terms of the caliber of other records that they had made in the past or would go on to make after the fact. So no particular order here. I'm going to jump right in. This was a kind of an easy pick for me. This is U2 with their most recent album, Songs of Surrender. This was a 4 record set of essentially U2 doing acoustic, very stripped down versions of their songs, which on paper for me sounds like, oh, it sounds something, like something right up my alley. Um, but it's it's really not. It's very, very slow. I know there's like a single album version or a double album version of this somewhere that you can get. This is the expanded pack. It was, limited to like 600 million. So it's got a number on it. But, it's essentially Bono and The Edge, mostly The Edge, kind of doing a kind of an ego kind of project, essentially. It's okay. There were some good versions of some of the songs. Like all the hits are on here. A lot of deep cuts. You do get the Edge singing lead on a couple extra tracks that you don't normally, get to hear. But yeah, it's just very long, very bloated, and kind of puts you to sleep. So, Songs of Surrender by U2. This is an album, just like that U2 album. I've really only heard it once, but I remember not being impressed. I love Willie Nelson, but this is an album called The Great Divide. There are a couple of good tracks on here, like Maria, Shut Up and Kiss Me is a good song. I think Rob Thomas is on that. Um, yeah, it's a Rob Thomas tune. But, you know, he's doing stuff with, Brian McKnight and Kid Rock. And Kid Rock by himself just makes this thing stink. I mean, again, there's good stuff on here. Like Time After Time, he does a version of Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Is In. Again, Willie is a great interpreter of songs, and Willie on here is not bad. It's just it's one of those classic early 2000s albums that are just super long, and it has just unnecessary collaborations on it. So The Great Divide by Willie Nelson, I will throw in the ring there for turkeys. Another one here. This is Dolenz Jones, Boyce and Hart. Obviously, I had to do a Monkees related album. There's the sun. That's a great bit of lighting there. This was kind of an attempt to play off of the Monkees like 10-year reunion, so to speak. This came out in 75, 76, something like that, and it's Mickey Dolenz, Davy Jones with Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, and they're the guys that wrote a lot of those Monkees tunes, Boyce and Hart. And this is cool. This came out on 7A Records. It has a cool live album that has Pleasant Valley Sunday, Cuddly Toy, Last Train to Clarksville, a couple of medleys, Stepping Stone. So it's cool, but the album itself is just kind of dry. It's not what it should have been. I mean, there's not really anything on here that stands out. Teenager in Love. Um, yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. So anyway, there's another one. This is one that probably, I'll probably get flack for from all the Bob Dylan fans. And I could have picked this one or the second, kind of a companion album to this. This is Good As I've Been to You by Bob Dylan. He put out an album the next year in 1993 called World Gone Wrong. They're Bob Dylan doing acoustic guitar and harmonica tunes. They're all old folk tunes, old blues songs, which again, on paper sounds great. I just don't like Bob. I don't like his voice on these two albums. And before you're like, oh, Bob Dylan's more about the voice. For anybody that knows my channel, they know I love Bob Dylan. I think he has a great voice. But there's something about these just sounds like he needs to hawk a loogie or something. But Good As I've Been to You, World Gone Wrong, both of them. I could throw either one of them out. He does do Frog You on a Courtin', which I like. Okay. I like his version of Hard Times, Come Again No More by Stephen Foster, but it's just not really for me. Uh, Here's one, again, kind of most people agree. I'm a Gumma by Pink Floyd. This has, a live album and then a studio album. Again, this is like Pink Floyd at the height of their like experimental, if you want to call it a peak. Obviously, this is post Syd Barrett, so it's the classic lineup of Pink Floyd with David Gilmour. This has Careful With That Axe Eugene on the live album, Astronomy Domine, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. The live album's really good. I like it. But the studio album has, you know, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooming with a Pict. Um, Sisyphus, um, you know, The Narrow Way. Like, it's not great. I did a video of this with Brian Massey at Massey's Man Entertainment, and we both kind of agreed that the live album's good, the studio album is not great. Um, this is another Monkees related album. This is Michael Nesmith Raise. Now I have not heard this album for a while. This is from 2005. Um, I distinctly remember listening to it and being like, this is just not great. I'm just not a fan of this. I remember it sounding very, very cheesy, very corny. It wasn't up to a lot of the standards of a lot of the Michael Nesmith tunes during the Monkees or the first national band. So, Raised by Michael Nesmith, again, it's not one that I've really reached for other than like one time, and I don't remember being impressed with it. So, Raised by Nesmith. Here's another one that's going to give me flack from my buddy Tommy at Tommy's Musical Adventures. I am not a fan of this album. This is Orange Crate Art by Brian Wilson. Well, it's technically a Van Dyke Parks album, who wrote a lot of the Beach Boys lyrics for the Smile album, and had a solo career on his own. Longtime collaborator with Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson doesn't write any of the songs on here. He's just the singer. These are all Van Dyke Parks original tunes. Brian is simply the voice for the tunes. I am not a fan of the production on this. I don't think that it is produced well. I joke that it sounds kind of like children's music. Tommy has given me a hard time for that. Just the way that it's produced and like this like kind of cheesy 90s production. I'm not a fan of this album. But yeah, Brian sounds good, but it's just not for me. Orange Crate Art. And then lastly, whatever this is, 8 or 9 albums. The Worst for Worst. This is What's It Gonna Take by Van Morrison. I think it's an absolutely abysmal record. One of his more recent ones. This is from 2022. Essentially, it's Van Morrison complaining about the COVID pandemic and all the restrictions that came with that. And it is just ridiculously self-indulgent and just not good music. I mean, with titles such as, Sometimes It's Just Blah, 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 Fodder for the Masses, Money from America, I Ain't No Celebrity, Fear and Self-Loathing in Las Vegas. I think it's just a, terrible record. So that's Van Morrison complaining about COVID. If you're interested in that, that one's for you. It's not for me. There you go, everybody. Thank you, Matthew Street, for the inspiration for the topic. Thank you to this lighting for making my face look like I'm in a New York apartment. Yeah, so everybody that wants to hop on. Let me know if you've done it in the comments, all that good stuff. And I'll look forward to watching your videos. So in the meantime, y'all be good. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. Hopefully I'll have another video out before that. But I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye now.